Okay, hi all, welcome back. It's been a little bit over an hour, and sorry if I appear a little sweaty. I just mowed the front yard. I still have the backyard to do. But what we're going to do now, and I'm going to kind of scoot you guys further back if I don't drop the camera. I'm trying to get a good angle. Okay, you guys may or may not see, I'll move this over a little bit, I got my baking sheet right here, and we're just going to butter it. And when you butter a pan, if you've never done it before, you want to make sure you butter not only the bottom, but also the sides. This just prevents your dough from actually sticking to the bottom and actually burning to the bottom. And the butter has been chilling just for a little bit in the refrigerator, so I'm just going to go ahead and butter the sides. In any recipe that says to butter, and usually it'll be a cake, sometimes it'll be a pie, depending on the pie. But you just want to do this for any recipe that says grease the bottom of the pan, or grease the pan. And this will also help your bottom crust get nice and golden, and it'll give it a nice flavor. Okay, so that's all I have done, and I'm just doing the last. Now, I'm going to use this pat of butter in a few minutes, and you're going to see what I'm going to do. I'm going to cream it with a little brown sugar. I'm actually going to melt it in with the brown sugar. And you want to do that kind of ahead of time. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Now again, depending on the size, if you're using a 9 by 13 inch pan, you could probably do maybe a quarter of a stick of butter and mix it with a half cup of brown sugar. Now you don't want to melt your brown sugar, so you're not going to put your brown sugar on the stovetop. And as a matter of fact, you don't really need to do anything with the butter other than put it in a cup and put it in your microwave and just melt it for a bit. I'm going to take one of the cups that I actually used earlier. And if I recall correctly, my grandmother may have even put a little bit of stale bread cubes in it and toast it a little bit with the brown sugar. You can certainly do that. I'm going to do 35 seconds for this because the butter just needs to melt. It doesn't need to boil. So I'm just going to use the bowl right here. I'm going to move this off to the side. And you don't need to pack the brown sugar. Just measure accordingly. You can never have too much brown sugar on this, and I'm just going to add a good smidgen of brown sugar to this. You don't need a whole lot of brown sugar, and like I said, this part is totally optional. You don't have to do this. This just gives your crust a little bit of a nicer flavor. And then we're just going to pour the melted butter over our brown sugar. And then with the spoon, you just want to mix this up. And you want to let this cool. And I'm going to show you guys what it should look like here in a second. I'm just going to tip you guys over That's what it should look like. And you're going to let that fully cool down before you top your coffee cake. So what I'm going to do, and I should have thrown this out, is I'm going to lift you guys up for a second. I'm going to put you guys back down. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to move that off to the side. And I'm hoping you guys can see this. I got my prune plums right here. So my dough has been resting for a little, almost an hour. If 45 minutes, an hour, even an hour and a half won't kill it. You just don't want the dough to get so big that you have problems handling it. Now this part, you're going to want very clean and dry hands. So if you wash your hands, make sure you thoroughly dry them because you don't want your dough to have any excess moisture. Remove the ash tree. And like I said, you can also do this 9 by 13 inch pan. You can do. I'm just going to take our cling wrap off. And our dough is pretty much doubled in size. And I'm just going to pour it into the pan. We need to get my Pomeranian is right underfoot, but that's okay. I'm just taking a spatula. What we're going to do is we're just going to take this out of the bowl. We're going to put this onto our greased pan. And when I say greased, I mean buttered. I don't mean you're using actual grease. And I would use butter. I wouldn't suggest doing a spray on it. Just because the outcome might be different. Now, working with your dry hands, and you want to be careful because, like I said, this dough is very, very tacky. You just kind of want to spread it evenly out. And you guys, hopefully you guys can see this, and I'm going to wash my hands again, and then I'll show you guys what this looks like, because it's very sticky, and you want it to be sticky. You don't want it to be dry, because if you put more flour into this and knead it, it's going to be a really, really, really tough piece of bread. So you want this kind of to be sticky like this. And the last bit. Now I'm going to wash my hands really fast, and I'll show you this. Unfortunately, my Pomeranian decided she wanted to be comfortable right at the sink level. So I have to be a little bit careful around her. Oh, that's silly. Okay, so I'm going to tilt you guys up and show you kind of what it looks like, and that's what it should look like. And while I've got you in this position, I'm going to throw out the plastic wrap. You also want to make sure that while you're doing this next step, that you're soaking the bowl, because yeast, when it dries, it becomes like concrete, and it gets really hard to put in. And I'm going to I'll be right back. I'm going to turn on the lights in the kitchen. I don't know why they were off, to make it a little bit brighter in here. I'm just going to line that up. Okay, so now this next part. I don't want to put, that was actually an eggshell. I don't know how egg got in there, but it did. You also want to be very careful where you put this. I suggest not putting it on the stove because keep in mind your stove is on 375. And that's what the plums are gonna cook at. So the next step is you want to cut your plums. So, and pitting the plums are a lot easier than doing the peaches or that. Basically, each plum has this line in it. You can kind of see it. I'm going to kind of go next to it, but that's the line. You just want to put your knife in there, and you just want to cut, and you're going to feel the pit, and then give it a twist. And you'll see that there's the seed in there that you want to get rid of. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to cut anything. Now, I'm going to show you how we do this. You can actually cut these in half if you want. You can leave them half slices. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to show you how we're putting them on here. We're just going to line our coffee cake like that. And we're going to do that for the entire coffee cake until it's covered with the plums. So I'll do a couple more. And then so I'm just going to do a couple more of these. Now I like to do them face up. You could do them face down where you have the skin side up. I prefer the skin side down though, because if you have the skin side up, what usually happens with your plums is they get a little bit tough during the cooking process. So I'm just gonna show you guys how this is gonna look. Actually, I'll do a couple of rows so you get a good idea of how this does. And this is a really, like I said, it's a very, very simple coffee cake to make. The dough is a little bit tricky if you're not used to doing dough breads, but this is kind of the perfect going into fall coffee cake to have. And like I said, this freezes like a dream. Obviously, when you take it out of the oven, you want to make sure that your coffee cake is fully cooled. And then you can cut it into any slices you want. And then a gallon freezer bag or a food saver bag, or you can even put it in a container. But like I said, you really want to make sure that the container is fully, not the container, you want to make sure that the coffee cake is fully cooled before you put it in there, because you don't want mold to mess up your coffee cake. And this is always great to serve if you've got neighbors that drop in and you don't have something you haven't baked all day. This is great for get-togethers, or if you're going to somebody's house for coffee or breakfast, you can even have this as a dessert. A lot of times in my house, we have it for dessert sometimes. And you do want to be careful with the seeds that the dogs don't get it, because you don't want to harm your dogs. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. And there's really no right or wrong way to do this, and I'm going to show you guys how it looks. And it's going to look like that, and you're going to do that for the rest of the cake. Now, like I said, I'm using a bigger cookie sheet than a 9x13. This recipe originally was written for a 9x13 sheet. sheet cake, and that's what this size is. And if you do this much dough, you can actually do 2 of these, equal this much dough, and it will rise a little bit on the top. So I'm going to stop the video for right now. I'm going to finish this. I'll be right back, and then we'll put our brown sugar on top. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, and I'm back. I'm just finishing the last 2 rows. The one thing I did forget to mention when you do this, and you're placing your plums on your coffee cake, is you kind of want to push them down a little bit and let the dough kind of wrap around the plum. Now, the dough is not going to climb around the plum and completely cover it. You don't want to do that, but you just want to wiggle your plums so that they have a firm hold in the coffee cake. And as you can tell, well, you might not be able to tell, I'll show you guys. I have plenty of plums to do another coffee cake, and I probably will do another coffee cake maybe even later today. I'll repeat this process and do a second one. Like I said, this freezes really nice, and you can serve coffee with it, you can serve tea with it. You can put, like I said, a whip topping on it. Cool Whip works. If you like fresh whipping cream, you could put that on it with put a little sugar in it and make your fresh whipping cream and serve it. You can serve it slightly warm. Is always good. Now, if you freeze it, what I suggest you do is when it comes out of the freezer and you're going to have it in the morning, is wrap it in a paper towel or put it on a microwave safe plate, and then microwave it start at 15 seconds and then do maybe 10-second intervals. You probably want to warm it for about 35 to 45 seconds once it fully defrosts for you. And let me know in the comments down below if you guys make coffee cake, if you make the Italian Prune Coffee cake, or if there's a different coffee cake you guys might make. But this has been a staple in my family for a long time. So I'm going to tip you guys over and show you that's what the coffee cake looks like. Now, if you decide that you don't want to do the halves, you can definitely do, and I've got enough. I'll kind of do a sample one. What you can actually do is when you take your halves, and these are a little bit green, what I would do is cut lengthwise the half so that you get 2 halves out of a half. And then you can put these, if you need like space to fill, and I'm going to put a couple down below. A couple down below where the dough gets big, and I'll show you guys that. And I put those down below. And that's all you need to do with your coffee cake. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to spread our brown sugar on it. And like I said, I have a lot of plums. This one took 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. This one took 25 plums. And you can count the seeds to know how many plums you have. So I would say for a 9x13, you're going to use maybe 16 to 20 plums. If you're going to do a big cookie sheet like this, figure about 20 to 27 plums, because it never hurts to buy a little extra. And then if you make more, even more coffee cake, you'll have the excess. Now, what I do with the brown sugar is I just sprinkle it on the top, and I'll show you guys after this is done. And always, like I said, always make sure that your hands are nice and clean. And you can even use, you don't have to use your hands. You can definitely use a spoon for this. And I'm just going to put a little bit over here, a little bit over there. Let me wash my hand out really fast. I'll show you guys what this looks like. And that's all there is to it. What you're going to do is you're going to put it in a 375-degree oven. Now, if you're doing the 9x13, about 35 minutes or until your coffee cake is golden brown and has started to pull a little away from the sides, then it's done. For a longer coffee cake or a bigger coffee cake, you may need to adjust the time a little bit. Do 40 to 45 to even 50 minutes. It all depends on your oven and the sheet. But you're going to bake it. When you take it out of the oven, you're going to let it cool completely before you slice it. You want to give it at least 15 to 20 minutes to cool down before you attempt to slice it. What I've always done and what my grandmother has always done is with a good bread knife. This bread knife, I'll show you guys, and it's got the serrated edges in case you don't know what a bread knife is. You can then cut it in the pan, and I would cut it in the pan and not transfer it to a wire rack because it's going to be really, really hard getting the coffee cake out of the pan until it's cooled down. So, I'm going to put this in the oven for about, I'm going to check it at the 35-minute mark, but it might need 40-45 minutes. And then I will come back and I will show you the final product. I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. I know you guys are commenting a lot on videos of mine. I hope you guys are enjoying everything. It seems like most of you that are commenting have been enjoying the content. I'm really excited to show you guys what we do with the kitchen. It's going to be a work in progress. I have some really, really fun cooking videos that are going to be coming up. I know some of you are waiting for my great-grandmother's squeechkova recipe, and I may actually shove that to the end of October now until I get the new furniture, because then I'll have the kitchen the way that I want, and it'll be much easier to explain how to do that for you guys. But anyway, make sure also while your coffee cake is baking in the oven that you pull out a cooling rack. You can use the stovetop for a little bit if you don't have a cooling rack once you turn the oven off, but if you make cookies or anything, you definitely are going to have a cookie or a cooling rack, and I'm just going to bring out mine and set it right on the counter. And then what you're going to do when you pull out the coffee cake is just set it on here and let it cool completely before you serve or you wrap it for the freezer. So I'll be back later to show you the final product, and then I'm going to wrap up this series. So stay tuned.